Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and I was asked a question by one of my students, Jacob's Videos, and what he asked me was, what do I think of the government shutdown? Well, let's put it to you this way. There is absolutely nothing I can do to change the situation about the government shutdown. And I don't think there's anything you can do to change the government shutdown. So if I can't do anything about it, and neither can you, why are we even talking about it? It's called a moot point. Okay? And so, I'm not going to discuss it because there really is nothing I can do about it. However, there is something I can do about something else. Do you remember what John F. Kennedy said? He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Do you remember that? Okay. What can I do for my country that apparently nobody else seems to be able to do? I can educate it. That's right. I can educate people like you. So I would be an irresponsible American if I can educate you and I decide not to. Well, I don't want to be an irresponsible American, so I'm going to do it. And I'm doing it right now. Okay. Now then, because I'm doing this, I am also telling you people what's in the healthcare law. Now this is kind of ironic, because you know how in the last election you had all those volunteers from the Democrat and Republican parties. They would go door to door, they would pass out flyers, they would put signs in your front yard, so on and so forth, hand you out bumper stickers, that kind of thing. Do you know not one of those volunteers has ever gone onto YouTube like I have and told you exactly what's in this healthcare law? They've told you parts of it, they've told you what they wanted to tell you, but they've never told you the whole thing. I have. I find that most distressing. Think about it. Every Democrat volunteer, every Republican volunteer, every Tea Party volunteer, and not one of them have ever gone onto YouTube and done what I did. That's ridiculous. So I said, well, if they're not going to do it, I'll do it. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm going to continue to do so for quite some time until I read you every single bit and piece of this healthcare law. Now, bringing that up, as you all know, I always teach you people something more than you expect. There's an old expression, and I'm going to tell you about it, and I'm sure you've seen it. Ever seen this expression before? Do you know what that actually means and where it came from? Well, where it came from is when they did a Old English translation of the Bible. That's where it came from. Okay? What it means is a very small amount, like a few grains of sand, a few grains of salt. Something that there's an extremely small amount of. Now, how does this affect us right now? The thing is, what I'm trying to do with this healthcare law is to tell you every single component in it. Why? Because every single component of that law is going to affect you in some way or another. Even if it affects your doctors and it affects your employers, but that doesn't necessarily affect you immediately, it will affect you in some way or form. Because If it affects your doctors, it affects the amount of care you get in the hospital and the doctor's office. If it affects your employer, then that means that it's going to affect your paycheck. And of course, when you're talking about having to pay for this health care law, that comes out of your paycheck, so that affects you anyway. So there's 3 different ways this law can affect you. So you probably would want to know every single component of this law and know how it's going to affect you in one way or the other. That's important. Now, a lot of you people have been asking me, well, how do you get a hold of the books that you need to make the presentations that you do? Well, I recently got this book right here from Amazon.com. It was $4 for the book and $4 for the shipping. It's not a brand new book. It is used, but it's in very good condition. So when I go out to look for these materials, I often look for used books, but I make sure they're in good enough condition where I can actually read them. Remember, I'm a speed reader and a memory expert, so the book has to be in pretty decent condition for me to do that. It's just like, let's see. It's just like this book right here. This was less than $10. It's in decent condition. There's some writing in it, to be sure, but it's still very readable, and that's what I present here. Okay? Now, the real question is, if I'm doing what John F. Kennedy asked me to do, in the line of, ask not what you can do for your country, but ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And I'm doing this for my country because I feel like I would be an irresponsible American if I didn't teach you people all this stuff. So you say, well, if you're doing that for us, what can we, the 647 viewers that view you on a regular basis, what can we do for you so you can continue your work? Well, the first thing is that when I'm covering the health care law, often it references the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, and I have numerously demonstrated, okay, that these sections that are being referenced, okay, the health care law says, we are referencing section whatever from the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. I have shown that these sections of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 actually do exist. But the information in those sections that apparently do exist is a little vague. Okay? And because of that, I don't necessarily find the exact piece of information I'm looking for in that Internal Revenue Code of 1986. But you guys can read through that and possibly help me find the information I'm looking for. So when I tell you people in these videos, hey, look up certain section and see if you can find that piece of information for me, you guys go in there, you look this up, and you tell me if you can find it. If you can, you can. If you can't, not a big deal. But it'd be nice if you guys could do that for me. That's something you can do. And if you can't find it yourself, maybe you have a smart friend that can. You ask your smart friends, hey, can you find this specific piece of information that Ted the Speed Learner cannot find? They might be able to find it. Go out to your internet buddies and ask them, say, can you guys find these pieces of information that Ted the Speed Learner is trying to look for so he can make a presentation on it? I bet they can. Another thing you can do for me, if you want to, now remember this is all voluntary. You don't have to do anything. You can just continue watching me and that's fine. But if you want to do something for me, when I say that I'm trying to find a certain book, and I'm trying to find it in used but good condition, a lot of you people go out every day, you go to book fairs, you scan the internet, so on and so forth, you actually buy books. If you happen to be able to find a used but good condition book that I'm trying to look for, and you want to send that book to me so I can review it and put it on the air for you, you let me know and we'll make the arrangements, because that would be a big help to me. Like I said, that's strictly voluntary. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you don't want to, that's fine too. So whether you help me get these books or I just go get them myself, it makes no difference. I will present them anyway. So that's up to you. But if you really want to help in that, that's fine. Talk to me and we'll make arrangements. But in the meantime, the best thing you can do is when I tell you guys to look up something, look it up. See if you can find that piece of information I'm looking for. If you can, let me know. If you can't, don't worry about it. It'd be a good mental exercise for you people, and it may bring me some results as well. Only time will tell. But these are the kind of things you can do. Let's not worry about the government. Let's worry about us. Anyway, I think I've said too much already. Hopefully you're getting the idea here. It's not about what the government does, it's what we can do. And we can do these things. Alright. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.